Day 89, Wakulla Springs and Manatee Springs State Parks. So this was the beginning of almost a week that I spent in Florida. And Florida is one of those states that, along with California and Texas, are absolutely enormous. We just don't realize how big it actually is. So from the morning, the road took me through Apalachicola National Forest. And I was very surprised to learn that Florida actually has a few national forests. And they look very different from the traditional picture of a forest that we have in our minds. It's very tall pine trees with needles right at the very tops. And then there is this very, very tall layer of underbrush with tall grasses and bushes. And it looks very nice and very peaceful. I was hesitant to hike through it because it is full of snakes and sometimes even gators, but to look around and to take a picture, that was great. And my first stop of the day was Wakulla Springs State Park. Wakulla Spring is the deepest and the biggest clear water spring in the world. It is actually coming out in a limestone cave, and the spring opening is almost 190 feet under the water, which is like 55 meters. So you can go up to the diving platform on top of the lake and dive freely because the water is just so deep. And there is actually a whole network of limestone caves under the water that goes for almost 30 miles, and very few of them have been mapped. And the water on the lake is absolutely clear. You can see these huge forests of seaweed on the bottom. And there is a very nice riverboat that goes on the lake. They actually have gators and manatees, but I haven't seen neither gators nor manatees. And the place is so picturesque that it served as set for a whole bunch of movies, a couple of Tarzan movies and a creature from the Black Lagoon. So here you go, another great place to visit in Florida. Continuing on, I got to my next destination of the day, which was Manatee Springs State Park. And this is also a park situated on a whole network of freshwater springs. And in the winter, manatees come up there when the ocean gets too cold for them. But I was there too early in the season, so I haven't seen any manatees. But I considered going into the water. It looked so clear and so beautiful and so inviting, until there was a snake that literally dropped out of a tree in front of the people who were walking the shore, couple of dozen feet in front of me, and I was like, okay, never mind. So as beautiful as Florida is, just the snakes and the gators and the insects that ruined everything. But anyway, the park is very nice and the springs are amazing. They actually reminded me a lot of the Ichitikipi Springs that I saw in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Just the same emerald green water, beautiful and clear. The park is also full of deer, and they're walking around completely unafraid of humans. And there is a very nice trail on stilts, like a wooden boardwalk going across a swamp. And I don't like swamps, they freak me out, but I fully realize that it can be beautiful as well. So I had a wonderful time just walking around the park, but I had to constantly mind the signs for the gators, and I was completely petrified of seeing a snake or having a snake drop out of a tree on me. But if you don't mind all those things, and even if you do, but you're willing to overcome your fears, at least for a little bit, then Manatee Springs is a wonderful place to visit. And then I went to see the remnants. Well, there weren't even any remnants left of a little town of Rosewood, Florida, which is one of the darker chapters of American history. And unfortunately, nothing new there. In the early 1920s, a white woman from a neighboring town complained of being assaulted by a black drifter, and a mob of angry white men raided the predominantly black town of Rosewood, killing, hitting, burning, pillaging whoever could, fled and hid out in the surrounding swamps until being evacuated a couple of days later. No one was arrested, no one was prosecuted, and the town was abandoned. And only almost 100 years later, well, starting actually from the 80s, the story gained attention again, and compensations were paid out to the families of survivors, and a marker was put up by the then governor Jeb Bush. But yes, America, unfortunately, is full of stories like this. And then the road took me further, past some interesting houses and interesting street names, and a couple of very cute classic Winnebagos on the road. And I made it to my last destination of the day, which was the town of Clearwater, Florida. And they had a very nice square next to the boardwalk with a monument to all states, soldiers from which fought in the Second World War. And I walked around the four corners of the monument looking at the names of the states, and I was like, been there, done that. So that was a pretty big affirmation of how much I accomplished on my trip until then. So that was day 89.